This is the Moog Spectravox, a semi-modulated spectral processor. This is the Moog Spectravox.
What up, world? It's Professor Reverb back at Narwhal Studios with the new Spectra Vox by Moog. Spectra Vox may already be familiar to some of you all who had a chance to go to Moogfest. This is the commercial version of the semi-modular analog spectral processor. So it doesn't have the fancy faders like the original Spectra Vox that was built at that Moogfest, but they did add an envelope follower on every one of these 10 filter bands. So of course it could be a vocoder. This was actually based off of the original Moog 907, which was a fixed filter bank. But Moog, in collaboration with Wendy Carlos, took things a step further. And this Spectra Vox now is like a reimagination of what they started on years ago. So the thing about this filter band is we have 10 of them and we could shift them via this spectral shift knob here. That in itself already gives you a lot more control than using a fixed filter bank. So let's jump to the panel and run through some of the basics. So like I said, you could run whatever you want through here, but it does have a single core oscillator that's pulse or saw. And it also has a noise generator and of course pulse width that you could run the LFO to. And this doesn't have MIDI on it, so if you did want to sequence this like a synth, you have to use the 1 volt per octave input. So luckily I got my modular over here, so I want to get to sequencing this a little bit later. And you could also turn the VCA mode on and just use this as a drone. Let's actually start by exploring the filter bank. Like I said, we got 10 filter bands here, low pass to high pass. I believe this is like 230 hertz, and then it goes up to 5400 hertz. And let's just start running with the drone. So I'm gonna turn up these filter bands one by one so you can hear. So right now the low is just coming through. Like I said, this Spectra Vox is based off that 907 fixed filter bank, but what's cool is we can now use this spectral shift knob to actually shift these filter bands so it's not just fixed anymore. It's shifting the entire band of frequencies with just one knob. And in pure Moog fashion, there's a resonance knob. Cool, so we also got this LFO on here that's hardwired to the spectral shift. So let's actually do that. And just like in all Moog synths, we got an LFO rate of really slow all the way up to audio rate, which in itself can be pretty gnarly. So that's just doing a basic drone with this. Let's actually get a sequence going. So as you see, you could just use this with the VCA mode on, turns into a drone, and just send in a volt per octave sequence here. You could play it like a pretty cool mono synth, especially with taking advantage of the spectral shifting, adjusting these filter banks however you want. Sounds pretty good. But the articulation on this synth as is pretty limited. It does not have an attack, it only has this decay knob, and it has a trigger right here, but pretty limited. Because really, you're supposed to be using this program input, which is really an envelope follower that follows basically whatever audio that you run through here. And when it generates an envelope, especially when you have this switch on right here, that triggers the synth. So like I said, you really got a limited envelope to work with, but you could also take advantage of the fact that you have a direct out of your program input right down here, and you could patch that to wherever you want. But it's also fun to run drums through. So I got my Poly in Play, of course. Let's plug that up and see what that sounds like. So I got the Poly in Play running in here, but we got to make a few adjustments to make sure that it's triggering Spectra Vox. First, we want to actually turn on program trigger to envelope generators. So flip that switch. And we have the VCA and envelope generator mode. So now, as soon as I hit play, my input is actually going into this program input at the patch bay. This is actually plugged into a mic, which of course we will get to in a little bit. But you also have this program input that can be used for other audio sources. So definitely make sure to adjust your gain to make sure that it's triggering, which it is. And I still have a volt per octave sequence coming from my modular. Now, like I talked about earlier, it's so great that they put an envelope follower on each filter band, because now I could just basically generate an envelope. I could generate an envelope from the whole beat if I wanted to. Well, let's try that first. Let's go envelope follower out from the whole program. Cool, let's just experiment with generating envelopes from other filter bands. So now I got on the low pass, I'm actually following the drum beat, mostly the kick drum, and sending that to the LFO rate. So it's actually shifting sort of on beat. So obviously you can have lots of fun running drums through here like I'm doing right now, or whatever. But you probably came to this video to hear the vocoder. So let's just get this mic that I got over here and let's hear what this vocoder sounds like. right, so first order of business, we obviously need a microphone, which I have right here. And when you're vocoding, you actually need a microphone to be your program input, and then you need a carrier. In this case, we're going to use the oscillator that's built in on here. So we're going to start with the pulse width wave, because that's just the best to vocode with, in my opinion. And let's make sure to flip this switch from the mode from filter bank to vocoder. And let's hear what it sounds like. Pretty cool. So this switch right here, going from buzz to hiss, it's very important that you put it on hiss when you're vocoding, because it adds some noise to filter banks 9 and 10. And that noise just makes your voice a lot more clear with a little bit more plosiveness and sibilance. So with using the oscillator in here as the carrier, I'm in vocoder mode now. I got all my filter bands fully open.
This is 77, 77. This is the Moog Spectravox.
Let's actually turn the VCA back on.
Tap, 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 tap. Yes. This is cool. I sound like a robot, but I'm not. I'm just vocoding.
So one of the coolest features about the Spectra Vox is the fact that you can plug in any carrier that you want. You can omit the oscillator that's in here and plug in something like a polyphonic synth as your carrier. In fact, I got the Prophet 6 sitting over here right now. Let's actually mess with that a little bit and see what that sounds like. That allows you to be able to use polyphonic chords, sending it as a carrier, and just take advantage of the fact that you have any sound that you want out of here that you could run through here and affect. So you can get by just using a polyphonic synth. So that was really cool. But to me, this Spectra Vox goes beyond just doing vocoder with using your voice as the envelope generator. Like I did earlier, I was running drums through here and using that to generate envelopes. And I kind of want to go back to that, but now I want to combine everything. I want to use the drums to actually generate the envelopes, and I still want to use the Prophet 6 as the carrier. I mean, you could think of any other possibilities that you want to do too, and it's important to note, once you do plug in a carrier signal into this input, you lose the VCO that's in here. So keep that in mind. So the patch bay that's on the Spectra Vox is very well thought out. It mostly replicates the Moog build that many might be familiar with, but they took it a step further and added envelope followers on each one of these filter bands, like I said. In addition, you have an envelope follower for your program input, so basically generating an envelope off of whatever you run through here. And you also have your envelope out, your LFO out, you have a VCO out. Pretty well thought out, and you could do a lot with this. So as we see here, I'm using the program envelope follower out to control the LFO rate. And now as I talk, you should be able to see the LFO actually moving in accordance to me talking through this program input. Because this LFO rate is moving by the speed of my own voice, which is generating an envelope through this program input, but going loud, it moves pretty fast. But let's not stop there. Let's actually run this LFO out into the pulse width modulation. Let's see what it sounds like. Check. 1, 2. Whoa. Let's try the envelope follower off of my voice going into the shift knob, or the shift input, which is controlling the spectral shift knob here. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And it's all just following off of my voice. So, you know, as I go and say stuff louder, more pronunciated, it's actually affecting things on this processor. So it's pretty cool. So in addition to still having the main envelope follower off my voice affect the LFO, let's try messing with the envelope followers from some of these filter bands. So naturally, let's just start from the low pass, envelope follower out into that, and let's take that into the shift input. So with this Spectra Vox spectral processor, there is just a ton that you could do, especially when you start adding in a different carrier or just start experimenting with the different program inputs, like with drum machines, of course, your voice. I'd love to hear from you though. How do you like the Vocode? How do you like to use your spectral processor? How do you want to use this Spectra Vox? Definitely drop a comment below and share with the world, because we like to learn from you all as well. And shout out to my friend Francis for laying it down on the keys and with the voice and really showing what this Spectra Vox can do. So I'm gonna get back to patching up some weird stuff. Maybe I'll run some more strange things through here and see what it sounds like. Well, that's all I got for y'all today. I'm Fest Grandiose, signing off of Reverb. As always, stay safe and keep creating. Peace.